All right, now we just got to put that away and all better. What's up, YouTube? It's me, Hyperion again, here with another video, but this time I'm going to talk about something that it's kind of been around a while. It's not a new construction. It's just something I haven't really gotten a chance to talk about much. Yet it's something that I've shown off quite a few times, and that is the Auto-Smelter 9000, or just an Auto-Smelter. And this is one of those things where, I don't really think about it too much because I don't get to use it that much anymore now that I've got a lot of systems in place. But most of the time when I get people coming to my world or checking out my castle, they kind of comment on this, on how crazy this is, because they are not aware that you can do some of the things that it can do. Simply put, we're going to go into just how it works, and then I'm going to get into the construction of it in my test world. But for right now, let's just kind of give a rundown of all the little things that it can do. Now, if you've watched most of my videos, you know I like automation, and so one of the things I wanted to accomplish when I was building the Auto-Smelter is exactly that, the word auto. Take as much of the work out of my hands as possible. And that's when I designed this. But we're going to get into just simply how it works real quick, and we'll save all the how it works in the next part. But right here, the Auto-Smelter, you can see, is already working. It's cooking something right now, and it's really simple. All you got to do is you got to come up here to this chest up here and put in whatever you're cooking. So we're going to cook some netherrack and some clay to make some bricks, and it's already cooking right now. Let's just check. It's cooking some netherrack right now. And what's going on is, as it's cooking, it's over here dumping all the netherrack that it's making into this chest. So right now it's just going to completely automated. All I have to do is put stuff away and it'll cook it and put it in this nice little chest for me. Now you got to think about fuel as well, and that's why we have this little back room right here, and this is where you can just go ahead and dump some fuel into it, and it'll be ready to go from there. So there you go, super simple. You just put stuff in and it's smelted and delivered to you in this nice little box here. Now there is a flaw with this system, and that is you don't get experience for cooking items this way. You have to physically take them out, and as you can see, there's nothing to take out because it's being instantly dropped into the chest below. So I was like, well, what if I want experience? I mean, we got mending tools, mending stuff. You might want free experience to repair those sometimes, and that's where this comes in. This little switch right here shuts it off so that while it's cooking, now the items are going to stay and you can just let them cook like normal. So I got a little light there to indicate to me that that system is on, and yeah, so now everything's going to just stay in the furnaces and cook like normal, and then I have to just take it out to get the experience. But switch that right off and everything just goes back into the chest. So there you have the chest, and then I was thinking after that, well, I got sick of taking all the items, running them over to my item sorter box, and sending them down to my massive, crazy item sorter down here, which you can't actually see because I'm not on the right floor, down here. And I was like, there's got to be a way to send that stuff to the sorter. And of course you can make some hopper trains and run it to it, but what if you don't want all the items to automatically go to the sorter? What if you want to pick them up? So I created another system here. So we got 64, 64, and 41, and then you go over here to this button and you press it, and as you can see, it is now dumping items. As well, this is now holding on to items. And what's going to happen here is it's going to dump all of these items all the way until it's done, and then when it's done, it's going to reactivate the system and go back to collecting here in the chest. And it doesn't matter how many items are in there, it'll all go through before it reactivates. So these guys are going to continue cooking up here, waiting for the system to flush out, because maybe you want to get rid of everything in the chest, but hold on to what you're cooking now. This is going to completely do that for you. It's just dumping away until it is done, and it's sending everything down into my sorter. You can hear the clicking right here. And that's because the only way to connect it to my sorter from this side of the house was to connect it right to the item elevator. But regardless, it still works. And yeah, so let's get into exactly how it works, and then I'll get into more of the information about what you can do with this. So here we are in my test world, and I have rebuilt. Sorry, if you wonder why I'm laughing, I had a really horrible first take of this trying to show it off, and I apparently forgot to test it before building it, and it just was full of mistakes, including I didn't fix one of the mistakes, and one of them was that apparently I used silverfish stone bricks instead of regular stone bricks. So let's go ahead and take care of that. Let's just go ahead and do that. Anyways, so here we have it once again, but this time without all the flourishes, all the design, all the bricks, just to show you the absolute core of it. And how this system works is actually really simple. Hoppers. And you know me, I love me some hoppers. Hoppers are your friend, even though that's a lot of iron you're going to be using on that. But hey, a lot of iron is going to be really easy once you can auto smelt it and smelt it in mass. So here you go. Really simply put, furnaces work on a system where if you put a hopper on top of the furnace, it'll automatically feed into the ingredient slot. And that's the only thing it'll feed into. If you put a hopper on the back, side, or front, it'll automatically go to the fuel source. And if you put a hopper on the bottom, it'll only drain from the final result at the end. So really simple, just that's how you do it. Hopper on top, side, and bottom, and you've got, at least you could just do it with one, you've already got an auto smelter system. This one's just really complicated because it uses trap chests and hoppers galore to spread that out a little bit more. Now, if you were to say, now we got some stone bricks, so let's just go ahead and, well, actually before we do that, let's fuel it up, because as you can see, there's no fuel in this one, or at least in that side, and we'll get to why in a second. And we'll just go ahead and dump everything that we can burn in there. And that's what's really nice about this system, is you don't have to really think about it. You just dump and go, and it'll take care of the rest. It'll burn all that stuff up and use it. We use blaze rods right now, so we're pretty much just going to use those the whole video because they are one of the best fuel sources if you have a good supply of them. We'll get into the other best fuel source in a second, but let's just get this thing running first. So if you were to just put in, say, 64 items, you're probably going to notice that just those two light up. Now, this is a little different than my world where the middle two light up. And the reason for this is something I haven't quite figured out. It has something to do with the fact that when you put items in a chest with two hoppers, it tends to favor one of the hoppers over the other. And that's just, it seems to go like it goes 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, but when it's transferring down like this, it only goes 1, 1, 1, 1, 1 because the items aren't staying in there for very long. So yeah, you'll have that. But once the hoppers fill up, then it'll start saying, oh, we've got a lot more to do, and it'll spread out to everything. So let's go ahead and do that without silverfish stone this time. And oh, we got some, let's throw those in the fuel source over here, since crafting tables are always something that I seem to have a lot of bulk of. But anyways, let's just grab some of these typically smeltable items, and let's just go crazy, because once again, that's the beauty of this. You can just dump and go, and let's make sure I don't have anything weird like I did in the last take. Now all this should be cookable. So let's just go ahead and make ourselves a whole bunch of stuff. Now at first you're going to notice that it just sort of keeps those two fires burning, but eventually it'll move on to the other two. So there you go. All 4 furnaces are now smelting, and that's because the hoppers finally filled up, and therefore when they filled up, it just moved on to the next hopper and everything. So now all of them are cooking, and that gives you 4 times speed. Before we were just getting 2 times speed because 2 things were cooking at once, but now we got 4, and now we're really speeding it up and cooking with gas. So the furnaces are all going and filling this up, and you'll see that the items are going in there, but you'll notice, wait a minute, buckets. Where are the buckets coming from? Well, this is another cool feature about an auto furnace, and that is if you use lava buckets. So on the right side here, we filled it all up with lava buckets because lava buckets are the best thing to cook with in a furnace because it cooks 100 blocks before it burns out. And what this will actually do with this system, it's kind of a cool little bonus trick that it does, is once the lava bucket is empty, which is, we're not going to get to see that right away, but once it's empty because it's burned up all 100 blocks, it dumps the bucket down here. So you can collect the buckets, go refill them up and restock them, and it doesn't just sit there in the fuel source like an idiot. So there you go. That's a pretty simple system. Hopper in the top, bottom, and back or side, and you got an auto furnace right there. So yeah. Now this other stuff I'm going to get into, is how to complicate that further. Now we talked about the little switch that tells you that you can collect your items rather than them being dumped into the into the chest. I'm sorry, and that's just right here, and it's really simple. It's a really simple circuit. Just comes over here and leads to some redstone repeaters that are shutting off these hoppers beneath it. So now the stuff will collect. Really simple, not too complicated to understand there. But yeah, now it's collecting the items instead of dumping them and stuff like that. And then I just added a little light, just put it right next to the switch, and that just tells me, hey, by the way, that's on. And so yeah, that's really not too much to talk about on that one. But the next part, that's where it gets a little complicated. Now you'll notice underneath our collection chest there we have a little bit of a hopper train. And by the way, this is a little factoid for you guys that it's not important for this build, but just so you are aware, if you're building a hopper train at all, you can stagger it with chests. Putting a chest in between every other one works exactly the same if you're going down or stair stepping. It doesn't work if you're going forward or backward to the side, but if you're going down, you can save hoppers by using a chest every other one. So, but the chest is here actually for a different reason, and it's because it's a better collector. And what's going on here is we have a system here of a redstone torch with a repeater onto this block, which is touching the hopper underneath, which means the hopper isn't collecting anything. So we still got our items in there. What's going to happen here is when I push this button, it deactivates the redstone torch. When it deactivates the redstone torch, it opens up that hopper. Now, that will only last as long as this button is depressed. So how do we get it to unload the entire load before shutting off again? Well, we have another little redstone torch here connected to this hopper, which means that once I deactivate that redstone torch, everything is going to be collected in here. And when it's collected in here, because this hopper is shut off by this torch, once it's collected in here, we have a redstone comparator right here that's going to detect that there is an item in the chest. And once it detects an item is in the chest, it sends a redstone signal. Now we have over here a redstone, a comparator timer. And the way that the comparator timer works, I'm a big fan of these. You just simply lay it out like this and connect it to your redstone at any point in time. Where it needs to continue giving power. But a redstone repeater, and let me just make one real quick. Now how you make a redstone repeater is you need two redstone, one comparator facing one way and one comparator facing the other way, and then two on the other side as well. And then let's go ahead and get a little lamp here. What's going to happen here is when I push this button, it's going to send power through, it's going to loop, and it's going to hold for a second, as you can see, and it burns out. So that buys you a little time. And then why this is nicer than, say, a repeater timer, where you load up a bunch of repeaters and just set them to the longest burn time, this has a different quality, which is it's instantly on, and then it slowly burns out. Where a a repeater timer, it takes a while to, here, let's just go ahead and make that too. So as you can see, it takes a few seconds to turn on the light, but let's just go ahead and connect both of these up like so. Now that's just not ideal, and yeah. I'm so prepared for these. So as you can see, once I hit this button,
That light instantly goes on, and this one takes a second to go off. But they take about the same time to go off. Now, you might say, well, that wasn't very long, but here's the beauty of a comparator timer is you can extend it. Oops, wrong way. So, by extending it, now it will stay on a lot longer. And actually, as you saw there, that was actually keeping this timer on as well. So yeah, it's kind of nice because once again, that's like almost instantly on, and this one still took a second to turn on. So I like comparator timers because yeah, it's an instant on and it delays the power off for a few seconds better than a repeater timer does. So that holds the thing open for a few seconds once I push the button. And once that item is detected in the chest and it activates the circuit, it turns it on. It also goes over here and turns on the shut-off system. And then it comes over here and deactivates the torch kind of permanently, not just by the button, but also comes down here and deactivates that torch as well. And you can see as I, let me just check and see how much we got in there. We got a good hearty amount. So what's going to happen, and I'm going to go ahead and actually take a lot of this stuff out of there. What's going to happen is, let's put a few more in. All right. You push the button. As you can see, now the system's gone on. Everything is flowing through here, and as long as it's flowing in here, that will activate. And now all our items are down here. Now you could hook this up, you know, via hopper train to anything. You could hook it up to your sorter. You could hook it up to a different room, whatever you want to do. But, you know, just for the sake of it, I added this little chest down here just so you can see all the items collected. And now it's gone back to collecting more stuff. So let's go ahead and hit that again and watch this stuff go down. So there it goes. And now that that's done, there we go. We're already started to fill it back up again. So yeah, that little system right there, really easy. The key elements there is the comparator detecting and the delay.
And the reason we have the delay down here, and also why we got to close off this hopper here, is another key element you need to understand. Is one thing is when you start dumping items through the hopper system, sometimes they move so fast through the whole system that the comparator doesn't even have time to detect it and put out power. And first of all, the one thing that we did to prevent that was put this torch here to close off this chest, so we know that the items collect in here for a few moments, and that definitively activates the comparator and gets everything going. And then this slight delay here lets a few more items pile up just so we can make sure that while it's emptying out that we got a constant stream going and everything like that. And then yeah, and then it deactivates this and starts dumping out. But we're hoping that you'll have let me just go ahead and kind of run a test here. This is a reload, so you know things are different, but let's go ahead and push that, and now we can see that, you know, a few items have gone in here and they're staying in there because as items are being added, they're also being taken out at the same speed, and that keeps everything flowing smoothly. And then the reason we have the delay back there is to make sure that those 3 items also leave the box and don't get stuck inside when everything reactivates. Because sometimes when it reactivates, you'll catch an item in the hopper still in the hopper. If it deactivated instantly, there would still be an item in the hopper when this torch came back on, and it would be stuck in there, and we wouldn't know about it, and we'd be just without that item until the next time we hit the button. So yeah, that just sort of keeps everything, make sure it's fully flushed before it reactivates the system, as well as make sure the system actually gets activated. And yeah, so that's why those 2 elements are important.
And so there you go. That's basically how I made my auto furnace, auto smelter. Not that complicated, not as complicated as other things like my current build, which is I'm trying to figure out a automatic brewing stand system. It actually works. It doesn't need to be this big. It actually works, but it's got a few bugs, so I'm still working on it. But yeah, not as complicated as that. But definitely a fun thing and a very life-saving thing to do. Very easy to build as long as you have the iron for it. And once you have it, you just it's like you don't even know how you would ever use a furnace differently. from this point on. But yeah, and also, I mean, this system right here, the auto dump with a button, is actually, you can use that in a lot of different things as well. You don't have to use it for this kind of a thing, this kind of a build, but it's a very useful system. I'm trying to get as much of the view so you can look at it. I'm not really getting into exactly how to build it, but you can see it right here. It's totally simple. And yeah, but another thing to mention is that yes, this is super nice for smelting everything, but it's not the only use for it. You can actually find other uses for this system, like I did here. Now, one other use for an auto smelter such as that isn't just to, smelt things yourself. You can actually automate it even more by systems like this. Now, we are behind my auto sorter room right here, which is working away right now because it's still processing all that stuff I dumped earlier. But back here is a hidden smaller sub sorter. It's not marked. There's no chests. It goes straight into hoppers. And the reason it does that is because these are full of items like iron ore, wet sponge, raw beef, and all the other little raw meats and fishes and everything like that. These are items you're going to smelt anyways, so why go ahead and sort them when you're just going to smelt them and sort them again? Well, so now those items, before going through the rest of the sorter, get stopped here. And they get stopped here and they get sent on a little train, and that train goes right down here. And down here we have a more simpler auto smelter. You can see all the little hopper trains and everything like that. A lot of iron used in this construction. But down here we have another little smaller auto smelter kind of thing here. And what this does is, once all those items are selected as items that need to go this direction, they go down that train, they come down here, and they get smelted. Over here we have this crazy contraption, and that is because it's also hooked up to the coal, which you can see here. And now when you're smelting various things, and I also have this rigged up to my cobblestone test, which I covered in a different video, but I don't think it's on this channel. But it detects when my cobblestone box is getting full and dumps a bunch of cobblestone to be turned into regular stone, which then gets sent back through the sorter and put in the stone box instead of the cobblestone box. And then if the cobblestone box fills up, then it just dumps it and burns it up in lava or something. I don't remember right now, but that's not what this video is about. But we have the auto smelter built up, and now, as you can see, you can put the hoppers on the front of the furnace as well, and it still counts for the fuel source. But what ends up happening here is that these two comparators detect from a redstone torch 1 block away. They detect that this is full, and if you take out one item, you can see that it will deactivate. Now, I didn't take out one item clearly, but it is filling back up. And the reason it's filling back up is because when it... I just missed it. Let's do that again. But I'm going to put this right on in here. You'll see there's some extra coal in there. We're going to take this out. And what's going on here is, once it's lost one item, it moves this piston, which breaks this circuit. And the same goes for the other one. Once you empty that out, it does the same thing. And once it breaks that circuit is running to a hopper right underneath the coal box. So if either one of these loses a piece of coal, then the system will just open up the coal boxes, the coal sorter box underneath, and dump some extra coal in there until it's full. So yeah, that little system's kind of cool. It's a very simple design, and yeah, you can probably build it yourself. But just remember, this is the key part right here, is the redstone torch with 1 block away. But see, as they filled back up, they reactivated the pistons, both of them, and once both of them are back in place, it stops dumping coal. So there you go. That's another way you can use an auto smelter in your own system. So now, like, everything that I put through my item sorter that needs to be smelted eventually is going to get smelted. Now, once again, you run into the problem of you don't get experience for smelting that stuff. But, I don't know, reset the end and kill the dragon again if you really want experience. That's a good way to do it. But there you go. So that's another useful tactic for an auto smelter right there. If you want, I've linked in the description another video where I go over the
whole cobblestone dumping system, which has been redesigned a little bit since that video, but it's still the same principle and it works. But yeah, so thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video, hopefully. Bye-bye!